Good morning, students. Welcome to this live virtual classes organized by Board of Studies Academics uh, for paper number 4, that is business economics. Till now, we had completed 9 units of your course schedule that has been there, or the course structure that has been there. So, and we are starting with the 10th unit today, that is Indian economy. And uh, in the next class, uh, after this class, the last class will be on 1st of August, where some revision will be also been done of some of the important aspect that has been covered in your business economics paper. Beginning 3rd of August, we are organizing this webinar for accounting and law, also paper 1 and paper 2, sorry, paper 1 and paper 2. So students are advised to attend all those webinars also. And after 10th of August, we'll be conducting your this mock test paper. So this mock test paper for business economics series 1 will be on 14th of August. So day after tomorrow, when we'll be completing our syllabus. Now we expect that students are keeping pace with what we are teaching in the class. And since not only we are talking about the conceptual clarity, we make all the student understand all the concepts that has been there in the paper business economics. And we are encouraged by the performance of the students uh, in the classes that is been conducted live. So even in the last examination, also students have got very encouraging marks also. So we are hopeful that our effort for this September 26th examination will again be on the same yardstick that we had fixed. So a student will be greatly benefited by our whole exercise, because behind conducting these classes, there is a lot of other technical support is also been given. So that is a combined effort that is been done. So the main purpose of this whole classes is to give maximum advantage to the student. So students who are attending our classes live must be benefiting. All those few students are also seeing the recorded lecture also. So no harm in that, because every student has his own schedule. But we encourage students to attend the live classes, because when you are attending the live classes, you are at pace with the course that is been taught in the particular class. Apart from this, some inputs from the faculties and from myself also will be added to that, so that uh, uh, particularly in your preparation or in your revisionary part, that will be helpful. After completing our course on 1st of August, since your exam is in the 1st of September, so hardly 1 month is left for the revision and practice. But from the very first class that we have started in May, uh, we are telling the students that keep pace with the classes that we are conducting, and keep revising also. So most of the students have must have done that. So there's no harm in that. Apart from this, we are also having our Sarans, which is helpful at the time of revision. Uh, More than uh, plenty of questions is already been solved at the end of each unit that we taught in this live virtual classes. So definitely student must be benefited by that, and particularly in objective type of paper, uh, you need to be very careful while you are marking your answers, because not only there is also a provision of negative marking, as students are be aware of that. And so keep practicing of the objective types of questions that we already uh, has been given in your assignment also. Apart from that, in your study module also, practice questions is there. And uh, every time I used to tell that whatever is been written in your text, that has been the course module that has been provided to you, read the whole course module, because every line that has been written is important. So and particularly focus on the chapters like the national income, market, international trade, demand, supply, elasticity. These areas is having a lot of weightage also, and this is also important for understanding, having a basic understanding of the subject also. So now we are moving to the last unit of your course structure, that is chapter 10, Indian economy, and it is one of the most interesting areas also, because not many technical jargons that is been used here, but one must know the economic situation of the country, and how this effort has been taken from 1947 onwards. So a lot of information that has been there in the Indian economy chapters, which we'll be discussing today and day after tomorrow in the last class, and probably revising some of the concepts also in the last class. So on this note, I welcome Ashish to kindly take up the session.
Thank you, sir. So, hello students. We will be starting with our journey of Indian economy in chapter number 10, which also happens to be the last chapter of your CA Foundation Business Economics. Students, every time I start this chapter, at first I explain the timeline, because once you understand the timeline, things become easier to grasp, right? Just before I start the class, there is a pattern I've been observing regarding the way questions are asked by ICAI. So what I have noticed is that for sure, Niti Aayog and the different programs in the agricultural and industrial sector that the government has launched in the recent times are very important. Are very, very important. Questions have come up at least for 2 to 3 marks from only this area that I just mentioned. Of course, in our discussion, we are going to spend more time on such areas, right? But let's start with the timeline. In the first 20-25 minutes of my explanation, you would get the entire picture of the Indian story. Let's see. So, students, first of all, let me talk about pre 1757. How is 1757 important, sir? You will understand that. I divide India's journey into several phases. One is the pre 1757 phase. Okay. Then we come to 1947. For obvious reasons, you know what was 1947, 1991, and beyond. That is today. Let me explain you this timeline, okay? Try to understand, friends. Pre 1757, if I tell you, India used to be a rich and prosperous economy. When I say India used to be a rich and prosperous economy, you would be surprised that before 1757 or till 1757, 27% approximately, 27% of the world trade was controlled by India. Sir, what does it mean? It means if 100 goods are being sold across countries, 27 goods were Indian. In fact, I would say the Indian handmade cloths, the finely woven fabric, hand woven fabric, the muslin. Muslin is a kind of silk now in Dhaka, Bangladesh, then part of India. It was such a fine silk that it used to be a symbol of status. If somebody is wearing a Indian hand woven cloth, it means they ought to be from some noble or rich family. Kings and queens of the Egypt would wear Indian hand woven clothes. Such was the prestige, such was the reputation of our Indian economy. Understood? I'm talking about pre 1757. Around 1500s, the Mughals and the Lodhis and so many others, they started attacking India. And from 1500 to 1757, there was Mughal Empire's rule. During that time, they had looted our economy, the Mughals, they had looted our economy, but but the damage was severely inflicted on 1757, in the year 1757. Why? I'll tell you. Students, in 1757, the British took over from the Mughals. In 1757, there was a Battle of Plassey that was fought. Battle of Plassey had, 1757, this Battle of Plassey that I'm mentioning you, it was between the British and the French. Because British and French were good at doing one thing that time, making colonies, controlling economies, capturing countries. So British won that war, and 1757, East India Company took control of the Indian Empire. Now from 1757 to approximately 1857, East India Company, in fact, I should also mention 1857. It was East India Company who were basically a company but took over India. They were also British only. But in 1857, there happened to be a revolt. Revolt that the Indians did. That's why 1857 was also referred to as the First War of Independence. Okay? Indians were tired of the severe looting by the British. But unfortunately, this revolt was subdued and India was again a victim of the British Empire. 1757, East India Company was replaced. The British Crown felt that East India Company is unable to control India. Then came the British Crown. That is, the British Queen and the Kings took over our country from 1857. And guess what, friends? From 1857 to 1947, now they looted India. Any important job was reserved for the British, supposedly the higher class, and any low level job was for the Indians. Any low level job was reserved for the Indians. And this, continued on till 1947. Friends, in 1947, finally India got its independence. Then our Prime Minister became Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. Now when Jawaharlal Nehru ji became our Prime Minister, he decided that India is going to be a mixed economy. Yes, on paper it was supposed to be a mixed economy. A mixed economy is one where private sector and the government sector both have control of the economy, both the private sector and the government sector. But class, in reality, we were more of, the inclination was more towards a socialist structure. So though on paper we were a mixed economy, we were largely following a socialistic pattern. Why do you say so, sir? Because around 1947, when we got independence, most of the businesses was kept under the control of government. Do you want an example? I'll give you an example of 1956. Students, in 1956, the government had passed a law. The law was referred to as Industrial Policy Resolution, IPR 1956. Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. Now, what was this IPR 1956? It was basically, this IPR 1956 was basically a law of the government that divided industry into three schedules: Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C. Schedule A were those businesses exclusively reserved for the government. I mean, the private sector could not even touch those businesses. Schedule B comprised of those industries where private sector could play a supporting role, a supporting actor's role, like minerals, aluminium, fertilizer. And Schedule C were those businesses which private sector could do only after obtaining relevant licenses from the government. So are you able to see how much the private sector was subdued? Schedule A, Schedule B businesses they could not do only. Schedule C also, it was only after they had to obtain license from the government. So anything you do, you have to obtain permission from the government, you have to obtain license from the government. And there was extreme level of corruption in that field. So this was up till Schedule C. This was up till Schedule C. 1956, as I told you. Students, by the time 1991 came in, Indian economy was in a huge mess. Our government had realized this. We did not have enough oil, or we did not have money to buy oil for more than 2 weeks. The oil reserves that we had would last only a fortnight, that is 2 weeks. Sir, that is logical. Sir, that is logical. So what should we do? Students, that time we had our finance minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh. So Manmohan Singh ji approached IMF and World Bank, International Monetary Fund and World Bank. He approached them, that is the IMF and World Bank, and told them that India needs funds. IMF and World Bank said that, okay, we are going to help India's growth journey. But in order to repay such loans, you have to do three things. Three things. Only three conditions. If you agree, we are going to allow you the money. Mr. Manmohan Singh gladly agreed, and that was necessary for the Indian economy back then. The three conditions were L, P, and G: liberalization, privatization, and globalization. L, P, and G. Liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Now, what does each term mean? I will come to that. But after that, India started improving. That's for sure. LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. Now, once you have got a taste in the last 10 to 15 minutes of what is what, I can now start this topic in a much more confident manner. Students, the journey of this chapter, why I like this chapter a lot is, has not started from 1757. Though I have explained you from 1757, do you know one thing, class? What's sir? The first book on economics, if you see the world economy, was Arthashastra. Arthashastra, written by Kautilya, also known as Chanakya, during the Gupta period. That is way back, thousands of years ago. That is way back. So there, Chanakya had written about how economy can be managed. What are the rules of a king? It spoke about military strategy. It spoke about the book Arthashastra by Kautilya in the Gupta period. It spoke about how a leader should govern. So political governance. It spoke about military strategy. It spoke about businesses. It spoke about duties of a king. How king should keep his empire before anything else. So the Arthashastra book has spoken about a lot of things which we are going to study. Okay. Only this reference to Arthashastra was relevant as per our curriculum. But now let's start. Let's start in a rather greater detail. Friends, what did I tell you all? India was the largest economy. Yes, you got me right. India was the largest economy in the world. Absolutely. The largest economy in the world till the 17th century. Absolutely. The largest economy in the world. And I had told you already, we contributed to about one fourth of the global trade. So out of every four goods that was flowing within the countries or between the countries, one good was from India. That was the India's stature back then, pre 1757. We used to have highly skilled artisans. Artisans are people who, for their handwork, are expert in the textiles and in other handicrafts. Artisans. Their main talent lies in the handwork. It was really famous in India. We had self-sufficient villages, urban centers for trade and administration. So, though we are studying trade and administration in our books in the businesses today, it had started way back in India. Now, 1757 to 1947. In 1757, British started controlling India. When? In 1757. When in 1757, the British started controlling India, the first thing we saw was a shift in trade pattern. Sir, what shift in trade pattern did we notice? Students, India used to be an exporter of finished goods. Correct. India used to be an exporter of finished goods. We used to export cloths. But the British had to support industrial revolution. Actually, the reason British came to India was that time, that is around the 1700s, Britain was seeing industrial revolution. Industrial revolution means factories were coming up in Britain. Now to serve the factory, you need raw material. India was a good source of resources. So their intention was to make India the source of raw materials. Now, when industry manufactures goods, you need a market to sell those goods. India was also targeted as a market for such goods. So twofold attack. I would not say policy, I would say attack. Twofold attack on the India. Number one, make India the exporter of raw materials. Here it is. Make India the exporter of raw materials. And make India the importer of British finished or British manufactured goods. These were the twofold attack policies. To make India the exporter of raw materials and the importer of British manufactured goods. Okay. One more thing was discriminatory tariffs. Discriminatory tariffs. Yes. See, British did not want Indian finished goods to be sold abroad. Why? It was harming their products. It was harming the British finished goods that were made from machines. So now, how do you kill Indian goods? What they did was, they taxed Indian products heavily. Huge taxes on Indian goods. And British goods were not taxed. So overall, British goods became cheaper, Indian goods became expensive. Game over for Indian goods. We also witnessed the collapse of handicraft industries. What is the collapse of handicraft industries? See, British goods that were coming into India, you call them cloths or anything else, those were produced out of machines. Now the thing with machines was they were more precise, and along with the precision element, the machines also had a large producing capacity. So if a worker is able to make one cloth in 2 hours, the machine will do 10 cloths in 2 hours. So it was 10 times or even greater in speed compared to a handwork. This led to collapse of handicrafts also, because people started buying machine made goods as they were cheaper also. Handicraft goods were expensive because they took time. So whenever it is time, you will need to spend money on that. You will need to spend money on that. So the unemployment rose and the poverty increased. You see what happened here. Unemployment rose and poverty increased. We were over dependent on agriculture. India was over dependent on agriculture. Yes, correct. We were over dependent on agriculture. There was large pressure on land. You know why? Because British was not promoting education for the Indians. So here it goes. We were facing extreme land pressure. We were seeing fragmentation, and we were seeing zamindari exploitation. So there was severe pressure on the land, there was fragmentation of land, and there was zamindari exploitation. Could you explain this, sir? Here it goes. Here it goes. This was a piece of land. Now, the farmer and his kids are having to divide that land among themselves only. Severe land pressure. Because population is increasing, but the share of land is not. But the share of land is not. Okay, sir, understood. So there was severe land pressure. That led to land fragmentation. I told you land fragmentation. If a farmer has this land, now he has two kids. So the land will be divided among two kids. Now they have two kids. So it will divide it further. That is land fragmentation. So ultimately each individual ended up having or owning a very small part of the total land. Right, sir. Now, there was the biggest thing that India witnessed back then. Zamindari exploitation. What is zamindari exploitation? What is zamindari exploitation? Students, I will tell you. Zamindari exploitation referred to a situation, pay attention class, zamindari exploitation referred to a situation where the zamindars, who? The zamindars, they were the owners of the land. They were declared as owners of the land. How? I will explain you the entire zamindari system here. So suppose this is a piece of land. British has control over it now. British will auction this land. British will auction this land now. So when British has auctioned this land, say there is person 1, person 2, person 3. Auction means British asks the people who is going to give me the highest amount of rent on this land. Let's say person 3 bids the highest amount of rent. Now this person 3 is declared as the zamindar. Now what did the zamindars do? They owned the land. Now they used to hire farmers to work on that land. Zamindars were not at all interested in improving the land or anything. They were just interested in making money from the land. So now the farmers were made to work on the land. Maybe they were given 5% or 10% of the income, the farmers. 40% zamindar, 50% British kept. The farmer who was working the entire day was getting 10%. Was getting 10%. That is zamindari exploitation. That is zamindari exploitation. Understood or not? Right, sir. We have understood this indeed. The problem was the farmers were told to spend on agricultural land improvement if they want to from their 10% share. So when you exploit the farmers in such a way, things are not going to improve. Industrial sector. British was not setting up industries. British was not interested in setting up industries in India. British was not interested at all. They were not interested at all. British were not interested at all. Our industries were primarily cotton and jute dominated. We had cotton and jute industries. You know why British did not promote industry in India? Because if India had industries, India would become self-sufficient. We would no more be dependent on the British goods. Why would British do that? And imagine by 1947, we only contributed 4% to the world trade. We were at 25% British before British came. They reduced us to 4% of the world trade. Talk about talk about looting. Since most of you are taking running note students, I'll just wait for a minute or two so that this can be noted. These are quick lines. Having noted it down, students, since most of you have noted it down, now I can proceed further. Now I can proceed further. Early post-independence economy. Early post-independence economy. Now, 1947, India becomes independent. I am sure most of you have noted it down. Remember, look how the independent India looks like, the 1947 India. Do you want to know? You know the literacy rate? The literacy rate was 18%. Correct, 18%. You know what 18% means? Means out of 100 people in India, only 18 people could read or write a language. Only read or write. I am not talking about educated. Only 18% were literate. That is, they could read and write one language. That's it. This was the position. You want to know the life expectancy? What poor health infrastructure we had in 1947, thanks to the British. Life expectancy was 32 years. Means if an individual was around 32 years of age, it means it is the time that their death will occur. On an average. For most, imagine the country's position having life expectancy of 32 years. 32 years. Bus. That's it. So students, Now, moving forward, we had our life expectancy of 32 years. You want to know infant mortality rate? IMR, infant mortality rate. It was around 212 per thousand. Sir, what does this mean? 212 per thousand means out of 1,000 children born, out of 1,000 children born, you could expect that 212 children will not survive till the first birthday. Can you look at the low level of health infrastructure? That is 200 out of 1,000 children born, 212 would not be able to celebrate their first birthday. Visualize this now. So, in 1947, we had a rural population, a poor population with low life expectancy of only 32 years. We had a weak industrial base and we were heavily dependent on imports. We had a weak industrial base and we were heavily dependent on imports. You know why? Because British had made us has made us dependent. British had made us dependent. Okay. Now, Nehruvian model. I told you na, our prime minister becomes Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. So he brings in a concept of 5 year plan, 5 year plan, and a planning commission was formed. The first 5 year plan started from 1951. So what was this planning commission? Basically, any government that came into power, they will have to establish their goals for the next 5 years. What they will do. And planning commission will monitor whether such goals are being achieved or not. Who was the chairman of the planning commission? The prime minister of the country. Who will be the chairman? The prime minister of the country. I will tell you, in 2014, when the new government came into power, planning commission was dissolved. There is nothing called planning commission today. But it was back then. That is why I said. So planning commission was dissolved. But when did the first 5 year plan start? 1951. As per the Nehruvian model class, that is the principles propounded by Mr. Nehru, public sector would dominate. Public sector means government businesses would be the main thing. Government would own the main businesses and everything. Private sector would have little to no control over businesses. Private sector would have little to no control over businesses. So we were public sector dominant. We had heavy industries, power, transport, everything under state, that is government control. There was license Raj. There was license Raj. What does license Raj means? What does license Raj means? License Raj means anything you want to do, you take license, private sector. This way, private sector was discouraged from operating freely. Private sector was discouraged from operating independently. That is the meaning of license Raj. Private sector was restricted via licenses, different kinds of licenses. Right, sir. Then, in agriculture, what was the focus? Yes, this was the good thing that happened during that time period. Government had initiated land reforms. When I say government had initiated land reforms, do you know what does it mean? It means government had shifted the owner. Government had shifted the owner. Earlier, who was the owner? Zamindar. Now the farmer was the main owner. But you know, on paper you would say, okay, uh, this is good, sir. Justice prevails. But in reality, you know what did they do? The zamindars fooled the farmers. I will tell you how. It's interesting. It's not good, but it's interesting how they did it. Government had imposed land ceiling. Okay, so one could not have been an owner of more than 1 acre land. So suppose if somebody is a owner of 5 acre land, you will keep 1 acre. 4 acres will be distributed among the poor farmers. What did the zamindars do? They did not want farmers to become the owners. They did three things. As soon as the farmer was declared the owner, farmer had little power, right? So the zamindars would send people to beat the farmer. One. Number two, zamindars would bring the decision of the government to court. Now, whenever a court case is happening, farmer cannot work on that land. During that time, the zamindars used to distribute the land among their family members. Now, each family member is the owner of 1 acre land. And court case is going on. When court decision comes, court says, okay, everyone is the owner, game over. That is why I've written here, but limited success. On paper, it was a good decision that we will initiate land reforms. The zamindari system would be removed, where the zamindar take up most of the rent. But it was not really implemented well on ground. Community development and cooperatives were started, like self-help groups. So in self-help group, what used to happen was, suppose in the area, there are 100 people. Everyone saves 20 rupees, 50 rupees per month and invests in this group account. One who is the most needy gets the money from that fund. During this time, the 1950-60 period, the growth rate was only India's GDP growth rate. I'm talking about 1950s. The growth rate was merely 3.5%. It's referred to as the Hindu growth rate. And we were primarily what dependent economy? Agriculture dependent economy. We were primarily agricultural dependent economy. So you know the Hindu growth rate 3.5% and you know the economy was agriculture dependent. Then came the concept of green revolution. This is something you could say as the number one win during the 1950-90 period. In 1950 to 90 period, it was mostly bad things happening to India. But green revolution was one of the things which was huge and it was brilliant. A good strategy by the government then. So what had happened was, there is a person named Dr. Norman Borlaug from Mexico. He had basically been able to scientifically come out with a special variety of seeds, as it is called high yielding varieties, HYVs, high yielding variety, Dr. Norman Borlaug. These seeds used to grow faster. These seeds used to produce more. The problem was they required chemical pesticides and fertilizers, which were immensely expensive. The government brought in a system of subsidies. The government brought in a subsystem of subsidies to help the farmer. The government brought in a system of subsidies to help the poor farmers. Okay. Why subsidies? So that farmers can buy the high yielding variety seeds and fertilizers. So green revolution was implemented in India in 1966-67 when we were facing severe droughts. First, it was not implemented at once. It was implemented phase wise. Phase one was from 66 to 1970, where its success or its effect was checked on Punjab, Haryana, and UP. And to the utmost surprise, it was very successful. It was very successful in Punjab, Haryana, and UP. And class, since it was very successful in the states of Punjab, Haryana, and UP, government then spread its benefit countrywide. Then government spread its countrywide. So there was high yielding seeds, there was irrigation, there was fertilizers, and there was pesticides. Everything was there. So high yielding seeds, irrigations, fertilizers, and pesticides. Do you know Punjab, Haryana, UP became food grain surplus states? So India, before 1965, India used to be an importer of food. We used to buy food from USA, grains from USA. Thanks to Green Revolution, India became self-sufficient in food grains. Across the world, we now supply food. We don't buy food. So we could see that there was some policy changes in the 60s period where more focus was laid down on agriculture and public sector expansion. Public sector means government owned businesses. Do you remember the Industrial Policy Resolution 1956? At the very introduction of today's class, I had told. Let me recap that for you. Do you know, class, in an IPR 1956, there were three schedules of businesses government had fixed. You look how strongly government sector had controlled. Schedule A, where businesses like defense, atomic energy, railways, which was exclusively under the control of government. Private sector will not be able to do such businesses. That was Schedule A. Schedule A was the list of those industries or businesses where only government sector or government owned businesses could function. Schedule B was businesses like minerals, aluminium, fertilizers, minerals, aluminiums, and fertilizers, which could be to some extent, which could be to some extent controlled by the private sector only as a supporting role to the government. Means private sector cannot directly enter these areas. They can only provide necessary tools and equipments to the government in these areas. So supporting role of private sector. And Schedule C, where those remaining businesses that were not mentioned in Schedule A and B, which the private sector could do, only after obtaining necessary license. Only after obtaining necessary license from the government. So it was an immensely big trap. It was an immensely big trap that they found themselves under. Right, sir? Right. Now, now. Some issues, some problems were seen. That there was License Raj and the MRTP Act. They discouraged large private sector industries. License Raj, I told you, private sector have to obtain license. Now the government servants will delay this license or will ask for a bribe. Next was what class? Friends, next was the MRTP Act, Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. MRTP, Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. What did this act say? This act said that if any private sector business has assets above 10 crores, they will not be allowed to set up new branches. They will not be allowed to enter into new businesses. What is this? If I am not doing anything wrong and I am growing, what is the problem to the government? Private sector started leaving India. Also, 1950 to 1990 was a extreme phase. You know why? We had 1962 war, 65 war, 71 war. We saw oil shock in 73 and 79. We saw drought in the 1960s. So we saw various bad times. Students, so finally comes 1980. Things started falling so much that government realized that India would become a victim of colonialism if India did not take steps. So finally it was decided that we will take over the period of early liberalization. Early liberalization. Early liberalization was from 1980 to 1990. This is called the period of early liberalization. What is this early liberalization? It is, by the way, this is also called reforms by stealth. Means India did not announce liberalization as such, but signs of liberalization were quite clear. Signs of liberalization were quite clear. Do you want to see some examples of the same? Yes, sir. India started delicensing 25 industries in 1985. We delicensed 25 industries. Means 25 businesses. To do 25 businesses, private sector don't need any license. You can just start from day one. There was restriction on expansion. Broadbanding was allowed. What is broadbanding? I will explain that. What is broadbanding? I will explain that. Don't worry. So students, in broadbanding, what happens is basically, think carefully. Suppose you are making buses, right? Now tractors are similar technology. For bus, earlier you have to get another license. For tractor, I'm saying truck. For truck, you have to get a separate license. Technology is similar. But broadbanding means if you have the license of buses, you don't need to obtain a license for trucks. Means goods requiring similar technology or related goods don't need any license. That is called broadbanding. The MRTP Act was not abolished till then, but it was revised. So the limit of 20 crore, I said na, that if you have assets worth rupees 20 crores, right? That limit, my dear students, was raised to 100 crores. 100 crores. From 20 crores, the limit was changed to 100 crores. Imagine it now. Imagine it now. MRTP asset limit was raised from 20 to 100 crores. So up to 100 crores, you don't need any permission from the government. Gradually, do you know what? The government had to completely remove this act. That's a different thing now. SEBI was formed in 1988. And MODVAT tax was introduced. Gradually, imports were liberalized. Imports were liberalized means what? Import taxes were reduced. Imports were liberalized means import taxes were reduced and rupee started depreciating. Because government had closed its economy. Indian government had closed its economy. For imports also there were several restrictions. Finally, finally, the government the government had basically understood and VAT was introduced. Moderate tax is VAT. Just like we have GST, na? GST is a better version of VAT. Government had introduced tax on goods and services. So instead of that, now we have GST. So moderate, you could say, is an ancestor of GST. Rupee was depreciated. You know why? To boost exports. You all know how we studied it in foreign exchange chapter that how if rupee depreciates, our imports will become expensive and exports will improve. GDP growth rate, which was earlier during the 1950s period, 3.5% Hindu growth rate, that improved during the sixth and seventh five-year plan to 5.8%. Still, still, this government sectors were very inefficient. You know why? Because the government sectors felt very secured. Nobody can take my job. I am a government servant. My job is fixed. So why the hell do I care? What can you do? You can only transfer me. You can take no other action. You can only transfer me. You can take no other action against me. So why will I improve? Why will I take steps to help the public? That was the attitude among the government servants. In fact, this attitude still lies today in some areas. Public sector were making losses. You know why? Because the government had promised jobs to people. Now, the work that could be done by 10 people in government sector, do you know? 150 people were employed in that work. Why? Because government had promised employment. If government does not give them jobs, next time gone. Government gone. Will any political party want to lose its seat? No, it does not. It does not want to lose its seat. There were excessive controls and small scale reservations that limited competitiveness. There was excessive controls and small scale reservations that limited competitiveness. And India was witnessing fiscal deficits and BOP stress. There were huge fiscal deficits. The borrowings of the government was increasing like anything. The borrowings of the government was increasing like anything. There was severe stress in the balance of payment of the country. So now let's come to the LPG reforms, the 1991 LPG reforms. Let me explain you this context. LPG reforms. LPG reforms were initiated in 1991, as I have told you already. It was the condition of whose? It was the condition of IMF and World Bank. So LPG reforms were not government decision. It was condition of IMF and World Bank. Conditions imposed by IMF and WB, World Bank. It was the conditions imposed by IMF and World Bank. So, under this scheme, the forex reserves, the forex reserves were as low as $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. That was worth 2 weeks of imports only. That was worth 2 weeks of imports only. Imagine, forex reserve were only 2 weeks of imports. This is already known to you. We had huge fiscal deficit, current account deficit. IMF imposed this condition. Now, what is this LPG? These three conditions, sir. L is liberalization, P is privatization, G is globalization. So in L, that is liberalization, it basically means give more freedom to private sector. What IMF and World Bank is telling the government is you have imposed immense restrictions on your private sector. It is not the work of any country's government to do business. You all are doing business, and private sector you all are restricting. Allow private sector to do business. Remove restrictions. Liberalization is that. Remove immense restrictions existing on the private sector. That is liberalization. What is privatization? Students, privatization means transfer of ownership. Transfer of ownership. From what to what? Transfer of ownership from what to what? There were several sick public units. Sick public unit means loss-making public units. So friends, privatization means transfer of ownership of those sick public units to the private sector. That is privatization. Either you close the sick units because the sick units are running at losses. The public money is being used in those businesses which are at losses. Let's not do that. Give it to private sector who can manage it efficiently, or close such businesses. And globalization. Around in 1970s, 80s, IBM, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, they had to leave India because government said that no, we are going to promote our own computers or our own soft drinks. Globalization means to open the economy, to allow technology, capital, goods and services to flow across the boundaries, to make the entire world as one. Understood, sir. Understood, sir. So let's see that one by one. Liberalization, end of license Raj, and more freedom to private sector. End of license Raj and more freedom to private sector. Privatization, disinvestment in PSUs means public sector undertaking shares to be sold to the public or the private sector, that is the private businesses at large. Globalization is to open trade, as I have told already, to integrate the domestic economy with the world economy through flow of trade, capital and technology. Key measures. How to do that? How did the government do that? Is there a theory ki karna kya hai? What you have to do? How did the government do it actually? I will give you an example, class. First was industrial policy. I told you, this licensing requirements, they were removed. Yes, except in strategic sectors like defense, atomic, railways, or some sectors, there were like, I will give you this one. Defense, atomic energy, so you were not allowed only. Pharmaceutical, alcohol, tobacco, essential chemicals, drugs. For these things, you needed license. Medicines. For these things, you needed license. MRTP Act was relaxed and gradually abolished so that any private sector could do business at whatever scale they wish to. At whatever scale they wished. Trade reforms. Students, if tell you about trade reforms, it means import licensing was scrapped. Import licensing was scrapped. What does it mean? Means if you want to import, you don't need license for most of the commodities except a few. In 1991, import tax, do you know how much it was? 355%. So if you are buying from outside a good worth rupees 100 rupees, government will take 355 rupees from you as a tax. Was it at all logical? If you do this, will the world keep relation with you? The world won't keep relation with you. Today, our tax rate is around 10%. That is good. Tax rates have reduced. So not only India is importing goods from outside, other countries are also buying from India now. Got it, sir. Then, friends, we had seen fiscal reforms. What does it mean, sir? In fiscal reforms, we saw subsidies were cut, base was broadened, and deficit was reduced. So subsidies were cut, tax base was broadened, and deficit was reduced. Financial sector reforms, interest rate deregulation. Anything was at higher interest rate, those rates were reduced. SEBI was given statutory powers. SEBI is the controller of stock exchange. SEBI is a watchdog of stock exchange market. Stock exchange saw severe kind of, you could say, scams. Harshad Mehta is only one such scam in the 1990s. There were many such scams. There were many such scams. So SEBI was getting statutory powers to regulate that. In fact, I will tell you, most of you don't know or don't know this Subrato Roy or Subrato Mukherjee. I don't remember the name correctly. Sahara scam. Sahara. SEBI basically sent this person, Mr. Subrato, behind the bars. He was the owner of Sahara. What did Sahara do, you know? He started this in 1970s around. In villages, there were small savings people were there. People were making. Now, naturally, private sector, banks were not there. I'm talking about 1970s. What Subrato Roy did was, it was Subrato Roy, I think. What Subrato Roy did was, on his scooter, he used to go to small villages. He used to say that whatever monthly money you have, 20 rupees, 10 rupees you give me, 3 years later, 3 years later, or 4 years later, you will get double or triple. Now a small person, small income earning person who did not have access to banks, but they had small savings. They said, okay, keep the money. So Subrato Rao started collecting it. The money started increasing with him. When money started increasing with him, to do this work, he appointed agents. The interesting thing is, he used to refund those monies during the time, after 3 years or 4 years. How? After 3 years, new people have deposited. Their money has been given to the people whose deposits have matured. This kept on. Students, In 1997, in 1997, Sahara was valued at $2 billion, 24,000 crores. In 1997, I'm not saying 2027. I'm not saying 2026, 2028. He was keeping this small savings. But gradually, what happened? His agents were told, now tell people to reinvest their earnings. They were told to reinvest their earnings. So suppose 3 years later, your deposit is 5,000 now. It has matured. You will be said, you now deposit this 5,000 only for 10 years or 3 years. It will become triple again, 15,000. Now people already started trusting Sahara because Sahara in the 10 to 15 years had repaid everyone's money. More people started investing. He started his Sahara Airlines. He started his this. What do you call it? Sponsoring Indian team. For a huge time period, Indian team was wearing Sahara logo. He set up a Sahara city. And his house was like a White House. Then SEBI inquired. Then SEBI came into picture. When few defaults were made by Sahara, SEBI said, if you are receiving deposits of so many people, why are you not registered on stock market? He said, no, this is my family money. Sahara is my family. This 10 lakh, 11 lakh people are my family. Why will I make a stock market listing for the money circulating within family? Supreme Court ruled, return everyone's money. Now people got the idea what is happening. No one was depositing. How will Sahara refund the money? Everything they had invested in assets only. So Subrato Roy was sent for 2 to 3 years in Tihar jail. Acha, in 2 or 3 years, you are saying he was in Tihar jail. The jail had a separate yoga instructor for him so that he does not put on weight. A separate food canteen just for him. Sahara had purchased a separate complete restaurant building to serve him while he is in jail. The entire hotel was purchased by Sahara. Imagine. Till today, Sahara is repaying money of the public because of the punishment imposed by SEBI. SEBI and Supreme Court, I should say. Actually, he was trying to push SEBI's ego also. SEBI asked him the list of depositors. Right? Who has deposited with you? Whose money is pending? What did he do? You know, he sent around 31 trucks with printed copies, printed names and addresses in approximately 200 trunks. It took months to SEBI to, compile everything. And they realized that the depositors was not there only. When they visited the address, there was no such depositor by that name. Financial reforms. You were asking why SEBI was important. Here is your answer. Imagine if this had continued till date. Imagine if some scam like Sahara was going on with you also. Your hard-earned money, your parents' hard-earned money would still be in risk. Many of those times are still telling me, like some of my uncles still tell me some of their money is yet not repaid. We are talking about lakhs of rupees. Exchange rate reforms was also taken place. So students, the rupee was devalued. So students, what was done was rupee was devalued and made convertible on current account. Rupee was devalued and made convertible on current account. Rupee was made convertible on current account. So basically, flexible rate system was adopted. Earlier, India had fixed exchange rate system. In fixed exchange rate system, Indian government decided exchange rate. The world was following another exchange rate. India was following another. So India was never at par with the world. Then India converted to that. Now, post reforms, India's GDP rate became 7%. Forex reserved in 2022 was $600 billion. Among the top 10 in the world, India was the foreign exchange reserve holder. Poverty reduced. Agriculture's contribution to national income was 52% in 1950. So more than 50% was agriculture's contribution. Today it's 18%. It's good. It means our service sector is now growing. Service sector growing means educated people are growing. And I told you a new body called Niti Aayog 2015 was set up and it replaced Planning Commission. I told you na the Planning Commission set up by Mr. Nehru was completely scraped off. Finished. Game over. Was completely scrapped. Complete game over. What does Planning Commission do? It acts as a policy think tank for the government. Acha students, you wanted to know this? Note this. I'm waiting 1 minute. I will talk about Niti Aayog. It's very important. So before that, I need everyone's attention, please. Noted. Now, I'll just wait for 1 or 2 minutes, okay, students, in between, so that you get a chance to copy. 1 or 2 students said, that's why I am slowing down. Now, students, Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog. It replaced the Planning Commission. It acts as a policy think tank of the government. It replaced the Planning Commission. It acts as a policy think tank of the government. Yes, you heard me correct. Policy think tank of the government. What does it mean? What does it mean? Policy think tank of the government. What does it mean, sir? It means any policy making, any suggestions for improvement will be given by Niti Aayog to the government. What it recommends is not mandatory for the government to accept it on face value, but it will make suggestions. Niti Aayog promotes what? It promotes cooperative federalism. What does Niti Aayog promote? It promotes cooperative federalism. What is this cooperative federalism, sir? Cooperative federalism means center used to get its voice, right? In explaining its problem. States never got a proper voice. Niti Aayog allows state to address their problems. And then Niti Aayog came with several campaigns, several schemes. At least 2 questions always comes from these schemes. Let me highlight that for you. I have created a separate chart for it. These are the initiatives by Niti Aayog. Important? No, very important. Very, very. One question is assured. Let's see. Shunya campaign. Niti Aayog, initiative number one. What is the goal of Shunya campaign, my dear students? To promote 100% EV adoption, to promote 100% electric vehicle adoption for urban deliveries to improve air quality. 100% electric vehicle adoption to improve urban deliveries, to improve air quality and everything. Then there was Project Life. Then there was Project Life. Life is in life, LI is lifestyle. FE is lifestyle for environment. Lifestyle for environment. What does it promote? It promotes sustainable consumption and production patterns in daily life. I will explain what does it mean. See, sustainable consumption means you are consuming goods and services, okay? You are using resources in the country, okay? You should use them in a manner that the needs of your future generation are not hampered. In the process of fulfilling your needs, you don't destroy your future generations' needs. That is Project Life, encouraging sustainable consumption and production patterns in daily life. Then e-Amrit. Students, it's a one-stop portal for e-vehicle awareness and adoption. One-stop shop for e-vehicle adoption and awareness. E-Amrit. So here it is. If you want to know about e-vehicles, right? Then e-Amrit. And Shunya campaign, it is a campaign to promote 100% electric vehicle adoption. So electric vehicle has two things. Portal is e-Amrit if you want knowledge on any e-vehicle. But if you want to promote 100% e-vehicle in urban deliveries, you use Shunya campaign, Project Shunya. Then class, we have NDAP, National Data and Analytics Platform. What is this NDAP, sir? Students, NDAP basically facilitates access to government data for researchers, policymakers, and citizens. National Data and Analytics Platform. For who? To facilitate access to government data for researchers, policymakers, and for citizens. Many people pursue PhD, so this helps them. NDAP. Then we have the methanol economy program. What does it do? It reduces oil import bill and GHG emissions, convert coal and waste into methanol. It converts coal and waste into methanol. GHG. So number one was to reduce oil import bill and greenhouse gas emissions. Okay. India Policy Insights, IPI. It is a data-driven policy tracking and impact measurement platform. So if you want to see what has been the impact of any policy undertaken or brought in by our country, you see India Policy Insights, IPI. And finally, to transform India's gold market. These were the different schemes. What I have seen appear in the PYQs, if my memory tells me correct, is 1, 2, this 3, 4, and this 5. I remember this 5. But you should study all because 7 is there. So why to leave the other two? Students, post 1991 and in the recent times, agriculture sector has also seen a lot many developments. What are some such developments? Students, I'll take you to the book directly to highlight a few. Very, very important area. And that's why I'm coming to the book. Here it is. In my book, it is page 10.20. I don't know your book's page number. What are we teaching, sir? What are we studying, sir? The reforms in agricultural sector. Measures taken by government in the agricultural sector. Very, very important. Measures taken in the agricultural sector. Let's go. Number one, income support to farmers through PM Kisan. Income support to farmers through PM Kisan. Right? So that farmers are able to earn enough. Fixing of MSP, PYQ. Write down PYQ. MSP means minimum support price. You know, the question that came in the exam was, how does the government fix minimum support price? So whatever is the cost of production of, let's say, rice or wheat, example, 100 rupees a kg. So MSP will be 1.5 times of it. That will be 150. Now, what does MSP mean? If nobody is buying from the farmer at minimum 150, if they are paying farmer over 150, farmer can sell it to them. But if nobody is buying from the farmer, everybody is saying you have to sell below 150, then the farmer can sell at MSP directly to the government. Government will buy it from the farmer at 150. So farmer has kind of got a guaranteed income because of this MSP. That is, if nobody is giving them above minimum support price, government will give them minimum support price. Then institutional credit, banks. Banks started giving agricultural sector loans at nominal rates of interest. At nominal rates of interest. Banks started giving these loans. Then, students, there was launch of National Mission for Edible Oils. There was launch of National Mission for Edible Oils. What is this National Mission for Edible Oils? Class, what is this National Mission for Edible Oils? Students, it's basically a scheme where the oils that are good, government is planning its circulation to increase and sale to increase. Very important. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. What is this? Suppose students, India does not have adequate rain. Suppose India does not have adequate rain. Farmers' crop is destroyed. They are gone. So now, against such risk of crop destruction, farmers can take insurance. And if the crop is destroyed, they will get a huge amount of money. Interesting thing is, a part of the premium to take that insurance is paid by the government only on behalf of the farmer. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, PMFBY. Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. A simple question could be full form of MIDH. Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. What is horticulture, students? Growth of fruits, vegetables, ornament plants, all this is horticulture. That is MIDH class. That is MIDH, everyone. Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. Then there was concept of provision of soil health cards. As to how is the soil health? When farmers get the soil's health, they know what crop to plant next or what action to take next to improve its quality if it can be improved at all. Then, friends, there was PKVY. Then there was PKVY. परंपरागत कृषि विकास योजना. PKVY. परंपरागत कृषि विकास योजना. What is it set up for? PKVY, Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, was set up for supporting and promoting organic farming and improvement of soil health. For promoting organic farming and improvement of soil health. Now, sir, what is organic farming? Now, sir, what is organic farming? Basically, it is a concept where we are trying to do away with the chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and every stuff. We are now intended on or focused on everything natural. Our attention is now on everything natural. That is Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, PKVY. Understood, sir. Then Agri Infra Fund. What is Agri Infra Fund? It is a medium or long-term debt facility for investment in projects for post-harvest management infrastructure and community farming. So once the harvest has come, harvest has grown. After that, whatever infrastructure is needed, whatever help is needed by the farmer, they provide medium and long-term fund for such infrastructure setting. Agri Infra Fund. Then students, there is promotion of FPOs to ensure better income for the producers through an organization of their own. That is, producers can have an organization of their own through which they can set up. Promotion of FPO to ensure better income for the producers through an organization of their own. Water is used efficiently. For that, the scheme name is per drop more crop, PDMC, per drop more crop. Micro irrigation fund. To develop irrigation infrastructure. Initiative towards agriculture mechanization means to improve technology in agricultural sector. Again, PYQ. Next one, setting up of ENAM. Just like in stock market, students, there is a portal where you can buy stock of any city, stock of any company in any city, right? There is APMC mandis, agricultural mandis in India. So if, say, state of Bihar finds something missing, some crop missing, they can buy it from Karnataka through this portal. The portal's name is ENAM, a pan-India electronic trading portal, which connects the existing APMC mandis to create a unified national market for agricultural commodities. Unified national market for agricultural commodities. Then Kisan Rail was introduced for improvement in farm produce logistics and creation of a startup ecosystem in agriculture and allied sectors. In secondary sector also, students, there were several improvements, some of which I am discussing with you now, that are relevant exam wise. Number one, GST, as I told you, was introduced on 1st July 17 as a single domestic indirect law for entire country, replacing many indirect taxes such as excise duty, VAT, service tax, etc. The goal of GST was one nation, one tax. So there were many indirect taxes, right? Excise duty, VAT, service tax, all these were done away with, removed. Now corporate tax has been reduced to 22%. So corporate sector can straight away pay 22% tax. They did not, they did not avail any exemption or any incentive from the government if they are using this scheme. If you are wanting exemptions and incentives, then you will have to pay a higher rate of tax. What is exemption incentive? When you have tax students, you will study that. You will study that. Then Make in India is a vocal for local initiative launched in 2014. It was launched in 2014, Make in India. Why? To facilitate investment, to improve innovation, build excellent infrastructure, and make India a hub for manufacturing, design, and innovation. To make India a hub for manufacturing, design, and innovation. Very important PYQ. India ranks 63rd in the World Business Annual Doing Business Report. How easy it is to start business in India. It was earlier 77th in rank. Today, India ranks 63rd in ease of doing business, which is not good. Yes, from 77, we have improved to 63. But why we are not among the top 10? The National Single Window System is a one-stop shop for investor-related approvals and services in the country and aim to provide continuous facilitation and support to investors. The aim is to provide continuous facilitation and support to investors. Next, PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. Very important, very important. To facilitate database decisions related to planning of infrastructure, thereby reducing logistics cost. What does it mean? A product is in Kolkata, it wants to reach Mumbai. Similar product is also in Mumbai. So instead of sending it from Kolkata to Mumbai's location, from Mumbai to Mumbai is cheaper. But the database of government did not know that Mumbai already has such product. That is database decision making. That whatever is the closest area, that will serve. The game of this is to reduce the transportation cost, logistics cost. Here it is. Another for logistics. This was PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. Another NLP, National Logistic Policy, to lower the cost of logistics and make it at par with other developed economies. Then for Atmanirbhar Bharat, PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme, for 14 key sectors. Means industries in these 14 sectors, if they do business, they will get certain benefits from the government. Another very important PYQ, Fame India scheme. Fame India scheme. Faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Full form. FAME full form is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and e-vehicles. To promote manufacturing of electric and hybrid vehicle technology. So another, this is the third one. Third one under EVs. Class, this is the third one under e-vehicles. FAME India. Udyami Bharat, to support micro, small and medium enterprises. Then PM Mitra, Prime Minister Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel, PM Mitra, to ensure world-class industrial infrastructure that would have cutting-edge technology in the textile sector, to boost investment in the textile sector. PM Mitra. 100% FDI for sale of coal and coal mining activities. Another PYQ, Foreign Investment Promotion Board was abolished. Foreign Investment Board was abolished. What came? And the new regime named Foreign Investment Facilitation Portal, FIF. FIPB gone, FIF came. What does it do? It basically simplifies FDI. Easily, foreign investors easily get approval under this scheme to invest in India. Then there was MEIS, Merchandise Exports from India scheme to boost exports. That is removed now. That is removed now. Another PYQ. And instead of that, road tap has come. Remission of duties and taxes on export products. So basically what happens is, if you are exporting goods out of the country, government is charging tax. So if those goods have been exported, any tax collected by the government on those goods, government will remit you back. You are doing good for the country. Road tap to replace the existing MIS to boost exports. It provides for rebate. Here you go. Here you go. It provides for rebate of all hidden central state and other taxes on goods exported which have not been refunded under any scheme. One more thing, very important. Startup India program acts as facilitator for ideas and innovation in the country. India ranks in the Global Innovation Index, has improved in terms of innovation. It was 81st. India was 81 in innovation. Today, India is 40th. Public Procurement Order 2017 gives preferences to locally manufactured goods, works and services in public procurement, thereby giving boost to industrial growth. So any goods that will be purchased by the public, Indian goods will be given more preference here in this order, public procurement order. Then we have the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme. Very important full form, ECLGS. Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme. Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme is a fully guaranteed emergency credit line to monitor lending institutions. Fully guaranteed emergency credit line. Now, another important line, the National Manufacturing Policy aims to increase the share of manufacturing in GDP to 25% by 2025. So the goal is to increase the share of manufacturing to 25%. Students, having studied so much, now I think we are well poised to practice some MCQs. Let's do so. Just a moment, I'll take you to the MCQs. Particularly the primary sector ones and this one are very important, class. So pay attention, right? Class, very easy question to begin with. I'll wait for a minute or two before starting. Which sector contributed the most to India's GDP in 2022? Which sector contributed the most to India's GDP in 22? Contributed the most to India's GDP. Of course, in 2022, service sector was number one. In 1950, agriculture sector was one. In 1950, agricultural sector was one. The year is 22. It's modern world. Service sector is leading. Acha, by the way, India had a unique experience. You know why? Normally, what is seen was first any country has agricultural sector. Then we have manufacturing sector that grows. Then we have service sector. India improved from agriculture directly to service. Our manufacturing is the end. Normally what happens, every country is first good in agriculture. They become better in manufacturing. But India moved from agriculture to straightaway service. This is a unique experience of India. Unique experience of India. Now next question. Very easy. I hope here you will not disappoint me. Who replaced the Planning Commission in 2015? Means one should not even look for the options. The correct answer is, of course, Niti Aayog. Acha, institute can ask a simple question like full form of Niti in Niti Aayog. National Institution for Transforming India. Niti is National Institution for Transforming India. National Institution for Transforming India. Huh. What was India's forex reserves at the time of 91 crisis? I remember the data. 1991 crisis, $1.2 billion, 2 weeks of money. Which initiative focuses on sustainable lifestyle choices? You don't waste electricity, you consume sustainably, you use resources in a manner that others are also able to enjoy the resources in the future. Lifestyle for environment, life, project life. Lifestyle for environment, the full form is lifestyle for environment. Full form of life is, see, the keyword is lifestyle, life. Lifestyle for environment. The more you write and the more you repeat, I told you, if you want to remember something, the trick is repetition, not 10 times, not 20 times, 50 times if needed. That is how you will remember things. Which act restricted large industrial houses before 91 reforms? Large industrial houses, they could not expand further because of this act. It was the Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. The R in the MRTP is restrictive. It was later abolished and Competition Act came. After MRTP Act, Competition Act came. Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. It was abolished, and students, after it we saw Competition Act, which is not as stringent as the MRTP Act. A very easy question. I don't even want to see the data. What was the average GDP growth rate between 1950 to 80? It is also called the Hindu growth rate. What was the rate? So students, the average growth rate between 1950 to 80, also referred to as the Hindu growth rate, was 3.5%. No need of option, only 3.5%. Let's go ahead, class. Which state did not receive much benefit because of Green Revolution? I have told you already. The initial Green Revolution was Punjab, Haryana, UP. Later on, states of Bengal, Maharashtra, etc. Bihar never benefited because of Green Revolution. Never. So not a major beneficiary. Bihar. Full form of NDAP. Full form of NDAP. I'll be waiting. Answer carefully, class. I told you, they sometimes ask directly full form only. I remember it precisely well. National Data and Analytics Platform, NDAP, is National Data and Analytics Platform. Here it goes. Huh. Which policy ended the license Raj? Which policy of the government abolished this LPG, this license Raj? It was by the LPG scheme, right? That is the new industrial policy 1991. IPR 1956 in fact promoted license Raj. Schedule C, you have to obtain license. GST Act, GST, PLI, production linked incentive scheme for the 14 sectors. It encouraged production. So PLI is production linked incentive scheme. So none of these. It was new industrial policy. That is the LPG policy or the new economic reforms. It is known by various names. New economic reforms is LPG. New industrial policy is LPG. Ah, which campaign? I already know the answer. Which campaign? The keyword is campaign to e-vehicle adoption. Of course, it is Shunya campaign. Shunya campaign, right? So the Shunya campaign focuses on this. Life is lifestyle for environment. Atmanirbhar Bharat is production and gold market is related to gold, of course. Ha, a easy one. Who regulates capital market? That is stock market. Of course, I had given 5 to 7 minutes of case study to you on it. Absolutely correct, friends. The correct answer happens to be SEBI. Acha, I hope you all know the full form of SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. Securities Exchange Board of India. SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. It was formed in 1988, but it started functioning from 1992. Securities Exchange Board of India. Which campaign or program was launched to promote organic farming? I told you, to do away with anything chemical, all natural. MIDH, you all know, for this one. It was infrastructure debt, right? And horticultural development. This is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. This is Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. So, students, the correct answer is Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana to promote organic farming. This was crop insurance. Fasal Bima Yojana is crop insurance. Fasal Bima Yojana is crop insurance. PKVY is your correct answer. Promoting organic farming. Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. Which initiative aims to improve agricultural market infrastructure? Agriculture market infrastructure. PM Kisan, ENAM, NDAP, Shunya. Improve agricultural market infrastructure. ENAM is an online trading portal. This is analytics platform. Shunya is for your EVs. ENAM, because ENAM is online trading portal and it looks into the infrastructure of the entire thing. So of course, ENAM happens to be the correct answer. Which year marks the beginning of Green Revolution? 65. Acha, students, you tell me, was Green Revolution implemented in the entire country at once or was it implemented in phases? I had explained it was in phases. 66 to 70 was your Punjab, Haryana and UP. And then rest of India was benefited. So remember this, it was implemented in phases. What is the full form of life? Lifestyle for environment. Lifestyle for environment. Lifestyle for environment. Lifestyle for environment. Which sector of India has seen the fastest growth post 91? Fastest growth post 91. Fastest growth post 1991. Agriculture, industry, service, or mining? Of course, the fastest growth is the service sector because of education, IT education, and everything. We did very well in the service sector genre. Which initiative is aimed at? I remember the answer. Reducing India's import oil bill through alternative fuel. Change the fuel through alternative fuel. So students, it's very easy. And that is national data analytics. So it is data related. Shunya is for e-vehicle and this thing. E-Amrit again. So the correct answer is methanol economy program. Because only methanol can serve here, na? Ha. Which organization launched IPI, Indian Policy Insights? That whatever policies government has brought, what has been the impact of that? Whether it was successful, whether it was a failure. IPI checks that. Indian Policy Insights. Of course, it was studied under Niti Aayog. It's a no-brainer. Moving on, class. 18th question done. Which scheme supports FPO, Farmer Producer Organizations? Farmer Producer Organizations. Agri Infra, PMFB by Kisan Rail or Shunya? Agri Infra Fund, you know. PMFB by Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Farmer Producer Organizations. Of course, it is Agri Infra Fund. Because this is Fasal Bima Yojana. Kisan Rail is logistics. Shunya is e-vehicle. So obviously it will be Agri Infra Fund. You can use the process of elimination class. Fasal Bima Yojana, Farmer Producer Organization, no link. Kisan Rail Logistics. Shunya e-vehicles. So Agri Infrastructure Building Fund. 20th one, and class, that happens to be the next question. Which of this is not a public sector monopoly anymore? Earlier, only public sector used to control this, own this. Now, private sector has some stake in this. Private sector is allowed some stake in this. Which one of them? The correct answer happens to be telecom sector. Because telecom sector, you have your Geos and Airtels. Earlier, you had your MTNL, BSNL, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited. Right? These are no more only under government sector. Private players like Jio and Airtel are today ruling the country. So having said so much students, we have been able to discuss quite well the Indian economy side of things. Again, I will advise you 2 or 3 things. If you had maintained running notes, revise that. ICI module, ICI module, read 3 times. That's it. Your eco will be good to go. That's it. Goodbye, everyone, for the day. Thank you. Tech support, we can wind up. Tech support, we can wind up. Okay.